Hola, everybody. I am Zenith and welcome to the Disney Debate, where Kat Mac and I talk about the latest Disney products and Disney in general. So, how's it going, Kat?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Spanish, 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 because I don't
Hola!
know Spanish. I'm doing pretty good, although my brain went through a really major reboot earlier, mostly because of this film. Yes, we have watched the three Caballeros. I watched it for the first time since I was a kid. Dave watched it for the first time ever, and oh my god.
What the hell just happened?
Our brains, they were turned inside out and then stuck back in upside down, and I can't think straight.
This is the trippiest film that we've watched so far, and that is saying something. When, other than two films that we viewed, every film has had an acid trip sequence. The only two films that haven't had it are The Reluctant Dragon, which, isn't a film. I deny its existence. And the other one is Victory Through Air Power, which we talked about last week. And that really also isn't a Disney film. So, every single Disney film has had an acid trip sequence. This beats all of them. This
Yes.
is like Big Lipped Alligator Moment, the movie. Big Lipped Alligator Moment.
So where should we begin with this?
Well, luckily the film was separated into different sections because it's kind of like Saludos Amigos in the fact that it is Donald going to various different countries and showcasing different cartoons that they had. Now, this actually does the formula much better than Saludos Amigos.
Yeah, no doubt, because unlike Saludos Amigos, where they pretty much put cartoons over the animators' vacation videos, this actually...
Over, historical, Welcome to Puerto Rico.
Yes, unlike that, this one actually had transitioned a lot more smoothly, and you never felt like you were being taken out of the film at any point, at least not until the halfway point.
At least not until the trippiness.
Yeah. So I guess we could start with, we'll call it Act 1, I guess. The movies.
Basically it starts off with Donald, and he's getting a whole bunch of presents. And it turns out that his presents are from a lot of his friends in Latin America. And so the first thing he gets is a bunch of film reels, and it's basically a video about a penguin from the South Pole who wants to go to a tropical climate.
Right.
And this is like a cartoon. It's called The Cold-Blooded Penguin, and really, it's just kind of a film to be a cartoon. I don't think this was the best of the film.
Yeah, not really. I mean, this kind of reminded me of Pedro the Airplane a little bit, in that, they could have had this setting anywhere else, and you couldn't have, told the difference.
I mean, first of all, unlike everything else in this film, it really does not showcase the culture of Latin America. And for the most part, it's just like a penguin, oh, he's too cold.
Yeah, this guy fails at being a penguin.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I have to warm up by my heater.
Yes, he actually has a stove to keep himself warm, and if he goes, a couple of feet away from his stove, he completely freezes. Try to figure that one out. These are penguins.
I was frozen today.
Yeah, I mean, these are penguins. They are built to stand the roughest, coldest temperatures imaginable. And this guy can't even stand going away from his stove for more than, a few minutes.
And yet when he actually does put, hot water heaters and stuff when he walks around, it melts through Antarctic ice. What?
Yeah.
That takes at least, really high temperatures to melt a glacier-sized piece of ice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, one thing you should know when watching this movie, throw all your sense of logic and your knowledge of physics just right out the window. Trust
You
me,
know what? Physics? Fuck your physics.
They have no place in this movie. So yeah, this was just a cute little short about a penguin, because every popular film has to have a penguin in it.
And it's basically, okay, so he dreams of being in a warmer environment. Eventually he gets a smart idea. He cuts off a little bit of his iceberg and uses it as a boat, so he actually can bring his heater along with him. And then he travels to a tropical island. And yet at the end of all this, when he finally gets done with his journey,
he wants to go back.
He wants to go back. He pines for the South Pole again. I'm like, you just got everything you wanted.
Yeah. Seriously, that I was like, really? Go to hell, you fail of a penguin.
Yeah, this is the only thing I don't like about the film. Is just that this penguin short doesn't really fit in the film. It's not bad. It's 10 times better than the stuff that we got in the Saludos Amigos. But it doesn't really have a point in the film itself.
Right. No doubt. And then after that cartoon, it transitions into the narrator talking about the native birds of South America. And this part is kind of interesting, because you see different types of birds. You see the toucan, you see a bird with scissors for a tail, you see a bird with a long mane of hair, another bird that builds giant nests, and it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not sure if these birds actually exist. I mean, I assume they do, since this is the educational part, but... But,
yeah, it's funny. And you know what's also insane about it? There's Insane Bird. There's Crazy Bird.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I hate this thing. I mean, he could have been a lot more annoying, but I hate his voice. This thing is called the Araquan, and this bird is, ugh. It's like if someone
It's basically Salacious Crumb from Labyrinth, except high pitched and more annoying. Like if you took that laugh and multiplied it by 1,000.
Yeah. And he sings this annoying song every time he shows up. Like, it's like, Jesus Christ, shut the hell up.
Luckily, he doesn't show up that much in the film.
Yeah, thank God.
And so after that short segment, we go into another cartoon, which is called The Flying Gauchito.
Mm-hmm. And this
it's basically the narrator inserting himself into the cartoon.
Pretty much. I mean, it's basically the narrator talking about when he was a little boy, because he's a gaucho, and he talks about his adventures of going out hunting. And the big thing about this story is that while hunting up in the mountains, he comes across a donkey-bird hybrid. So a donkey with bird wings, which he names Burrito.
I think that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so he has this flying donkey, and there's this race coming up. And he's like, all right, I'm going to train this donkey. He's going to be mine. He's going to be my donkey. And I'm going to win the race, and I'm going to have this 1,000 pesos. And I'm going to travel to America, and it's going to be awesome. And so he trains the donkey, and they go to the race. And they start off where he doesn't showcase the wings. He hides them, and he's like wicked far back. And then he unties the blanket and starts flying, and he's like flies faster than everyone else, passes by everyone, and gets to the finish line before everyone else. And then when he does get to the finish line, the blanket's already back on the donkey. Now, this is to, show that basically to hide the fact that he's cheating.
Yeah, that's a big thing, is that this kid is very dishonest in the fact that he's using a flying donkey to win a race.
But the question, I have a question about this, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, in the middle of the race, he took off the blanket, and people could clearly see his wings. Like, there are people in the stadiums watching this. This isn't like, just a regular race. No, there are people watching this.
Yeah, I guess we can all assume that they were focused so much on the lead racers that they weren't really paying attention to them. But even then, you're watching a kid on a donkey in a race with men on horses.
Yeah, and so it really doesn't have any credibility. But so yeah, he wins the race, but the donkey gives himself away, and so like everyone's just like, a flying donkey, and it's not like, oh my God, it's a flying donkey.
Yeah.
No, it's like, you cheated.
Pretty much, but honestly, I think that's how I would react to it. I'd be like, oh my God, a flying donkey? Hey, you cheated! Those could have been my pesos.
You know what? The pesos aren't really worth that much. 1,000 pesos is only worth like $10, I think. Not even. Like, it's a very small amount of money. And so, maybe it is a lot to them, but the thing is, like...
Well, this was also back in the 40s where, $1 million was considered, a shit ton of money.
That's true. So, it's a short little cartoon. It ends right after the races. And another thing I have to point out, so we mentioned that the narrator was self-inserting himself into the cartoon. At the end, he said that the little boy and the donkey was never seen again. You're narrating the cartoon.
Yeah, I guess he's doing it from some remote location.
Do you own a TARDIS or something? I mean... But yeah, I think it's a fun little cartoon. I don't think it's anything super special, but I think it's generally lots of fun. I think it does great things for the culture of. Is it set in Brazil or Argentina? Probably Argentina, I would think.
I believe so, because it takes place on the other side of the Andes. And that's generally where Argentina is.
So I mean, yeah, we have another gaucho and.
Oh wait, no, my mistake. It's actually in Uruguay.
In Uruguay, okay.
Yeah, so that's right next to it, though.
But yeah, I mean, it basically does showcase the culture really well without needing the historical. Well, now we're in Uruguay. Explanation. No, this is actually learning about the culture from a perspective of someone who is in it, and there's a lot of like Spanish terms put out there that are pretty cool. Like, I put on my botas, and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, so it set out what it did to do. It entertained and it educated. So it's not a bad cartoon at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, it's not the best cartoon, but it's still, you still get something out of it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's basically the film has those two animation segments in it, and those are the only two that really don't feature Donald as the main star. Because he's watching them. But for the most part, this film is about Donald as he experiences like stuff in the cultures. Next, he opens a gift that is vibrating, glowing.
Giggity. Yeah, this is part 2. Present 2.
He opens the present, and there's a book inside, and inside is the parrot from Saludos Amigos.
It's Jose.
Jose Jalapeno.
Karaoke.
Jose, and he's fun. I like him. But first of all, I have to say, this guy is a wizard.
Yes, he is the first of many wizards you will see in this movie.
And so, like, they open the book, and he's like a miniature version of him inside a pop-up version of the book. And he's playing on his umbrella as a flute, and he's like strumming it as a guitar, and he's generally being a wizard. And he does some really trippy things. But yeah, so he meets up with Donald, and he starts off like, "Hey Donald, have you ever been to Bahia?"
"No, I haven't."
And when you ask a question, you expect, okay, he gets an answer, he knows, but he starts and asks him again in song, is like, "Have you ever been to Bahia?" And they start this song, and he asks him like 3 different times.
Yeah, I think he ends up repeating himself, 6 times?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I should say, first it starts off after he first asks him about Bahia. We transition to Bahia itself.
Inside his head, and it's like the images and stuff of Bahia, and it's like, hey, let's stop the movie for 5 seconds so we can glorify Bahia, which is actually in tune with the nation of this film, so it's pretty good. And then after he's done with it, and like after he asks Donald 3 more times, have you ever been to Bahia? Donald asks him, have you ever been to Bahia? And Jose's like, no, I haven't. What?
Which makes no sense considering he just had this whole, sequence that showed Bahia, apparently through how he remembers it. I gotta say about that sequence, the good things is that it's very beautifully animated. It's like, it's kind of weird with the red colors and everything, but it does bring out the beauty of the place. And the song isn't that bad. But the bad thing is it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's kind of boring, because, like, it kind of stops everything.
Mm-hmm. But I do like that they, after this section, they take you to Bahia, and we meet up with a bunch of the people there. And this is where the film shows what it was really doing right. And what it really does is this is the first film that we've shown on the show, the first Disney film to feature intercutting of live-action footage with animation at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go to Bahia, and they meet up with some of the local women and men there, and they start singing and dancing, and Donald is out for some poontang.
Yeah, the person that's actually the star of this is a woman named Aurora Miranda, and in this she's called the Yaya. I'm not sure what that means, but it's basically they basically said that she sells cookies on the street.
Yeah, I want some cookies right now.
Right, and so she starts singing the song, and then all of a sudden all these guys join her, and it becomes like this big, samba party in the middle of the town. And the song is actually really catchy, like and very danceable. Like I liked it personally.
I thoroughly enjoyed the song. I mean, a lot of things to note about the songs in this film is there isn't really anything besides the 3 Caballeros. There isn't really like a standout number because it's really intermeshed with the film itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anything, it's like it's either played as background music or
it's meant to set the tone of each individual scene. Like when we go to Bahia, we're gonna have Brazilian type music, and they have a nice samba dance, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it starts off somewhat normal, as normal as cartoons mixed with live action can get, with with them all doing.
It actually looks really good too. The smoothing, I'm surprised with a film this old how the intercutting looks. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see, like, it's not like you have the cartoons in this spot and the real life people in this spot. No, they actually like cross each other, and it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was saying, it starts off normal enough with them just dancing, and then the Yaya ends up kissing Donald after he gives her some flowers, and then we go into acid trip mode.
Yeah, like the Bahia segment is the last segment that actually somewhat makes sense in terms of, logic.
Right, because you see them, all of a sudden all these colors are swirling around, they're all dancing around these, like, polka dots, and then the color tone changes a bit, and then these 2 guys suddenly become roosters and have a cockfight.
And it reminds me of Bambi during the fight scene.
Yeah. It's a shame it doesn't last that long, and the most they try to do is trip each other up. But and then it ends with pretty much the Yaya revealing that she's a witch by waving her hands, and suddenly every inanimate object in the city just comes alive and starts dancing.
And it turns wavy, and I'm like, did this just become Paranoia Agent? Seriously, like everything becomes all wavy and starts dancing, and it's.
It reminded me of Toontown from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
That's true. Only Toontown is actually more sane than this movie.
I wouldn't say that, but pretty close.
So that's Bahia. I thought that was a very good segment. It's enjoyable. It has a lot of nice dance numbers, but the whole lead up to Bahia was kind of forced in terms of, okay, I like that he had the internal like thing of, okay, this is what Bahia looks like, but you could have just cut that out. I mean, we're going to see Bahia anyway, and the fact that he had to ask them, have you been to Bahia 5 times?
Yeah, that was annoying and redundant.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a good segment, a lot of fun, a lot of dancing, a lot of wizardry.
Yeah,
but
I think
not my favorite of the film.
Yeah, I think if you edited out certain parts, it probably would have flowed a lot more. It would have been shorter, definitely, but it definitely would have made, hurt your brain cells less.
And then we transition to the next segment, which is called Las Posadas, which is where we meet up with the third Caballero.
Yeah, and his name is Paquito Pistioles, and he is a mixture of Speedy Gonzales, the Roadrunner, and Yosemite Sam.
Pretty much, with a big hat.
Yes. Yeah, this guy is just insane. He runs around screaming his head off, shooting off his guns, and he's basically a representative for Mexico.
And, he has this, like, crooner singing voice, and when he materializes, it appears that he actually has 3 hats on at all times, because he takes one off and gives it to Donald, and one takes the other off, gives it to Jose, and underneath are more hats.
Just like you, Dave.
That's true. I do have many hats. They hold many secrets.
Yeah, so we finally got all 3 Caballeros together, and basically Paquito's present to Donald is a piñata.
And Donald's like, what's a piñata? And he's like, oh, you don't know what a piñata is? Let me tell you all about it. And it's a story about basically a group of Mexican children who celebrate Christmas by reenacting the journey of Mary, who's the mother of Jesus, and searching for room at a specific residence. And when they get there, they're given room and board. They get to have a lot of feast. Mm-hmm. And apparently then they break a piñata. Now, I don't know too much about the Mexican culture myself, so I may be wrong about this, but isn't traditionally a piñata used at birthdays?
I believe they're used at any celebration.
Okay.
Not solely birthdays, because from what I've seen here, Aztecs did a similar thing whenever they celebrated the birthday of one of their gods. So, and actually, it also says that the piñata originally originated in China.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that, but yeah, so, we get a little bit of history lesson about Mexican children. We get a little bit, and I think it's told really well because instead of animating it, it's told in still shots of these really well hand-drawn little children, and I think it's a very poignant scene. It differs a lot from the other scenes in the film. And then we go back to Donald Duck, and he's trying to break the piñata, and Jose and Paquito are being dicks and pulling it up when he swings.
Well, that's what people always do with piñatas, because part of the fun of trying to break a piñata is that you miss it half the time. You're basically, because of course you're blindfolded and you have a stick and you're just trying to like get it, and of course it wouldn't be fun if you just broke it right away. No, you have to work for it.
So they break the piñata, and that's pretty much the end of the sequence. It's actually a pretty short sequence in the film.
Yeah, and actually it's kind of funny when I was watching the kids, because I'm wondering if the adults plan this ahead of time, tell everyone, tell them, that they can't go here, just, coax them toward this one area where we have all the food and stuff ready for them. Because if not, I would find it really weird if all of a sudden a bunch of kids just came up on my doorstep with, like, a statue of Mary and Joseph and are like, hey, can we have shelter, please?
That'll make the kids very, nice behaved kids because, don't eat. Sorry.
Yeah, the poor thing. They're like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Hi, I'm here to sell real estate.
Go away.
Hey.
We don't care if you have a statue of Mary and Joseph. Go away.
And then the next sequence is all about Mexico. It turns out that Panchito is not just your average ordinary wizard. He's an Arabian wizard because he has a flying carpet. Or a flying sarupe, as they call it in Mexico. And so basically what happens is we get a really huge tour of, Pasquero, Veracruz, Acapulco, just a whole bunch of different places. And there's certain different places. We have a beach scene where Donald falls in love with women again. We have the night scene of Mexico. We see a lot of different states of Mexico, and just it's a lot of dancers and songs going on.
Yeah, so some of them are interesting to watch, but I was kind of disappointed that they kind of just breezed through everything. Like nothing really lasted more than
this is where the plot goes downhill. I mean, what plot we had is just pretty much gone to, okay, we're just flying around, and we're seeing a place, and Donald's going to hit on the girls.
And trust me, he does. Like, starting with Brazil, pretty much every sequence that involves a woman, he tries to hit on her.
He's like, hello, Toots.
Oh my god. No, I don't know why. I guess maybe because I'm a girl, but I personally find being called Toots offensive.
What, you don't like being compared to a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
No, I don't. I'm not chocolatey. I don't have a chewy center. Yeah, I don't know why. Like I said, again, it's probably just because of gender, but I was always offended every time I hear Donald call the girls, hey Toots, how you doing?
Yeah, it's really a staple of the times. I don't think it's anything you can really attribute to Disney himself in this case, because it's something where women's suffrage and feminism hadn't really come about yet.
Right.
So again, we're going to be talking about this a lot in the coming years, where before feminism really kicked in, Disney was a product of the times, and women were not treated with respect.
Yeah, they show the whole scene at Acapulco Beach is basically this beach is inhabited by pretty girls, and Donald is trying to get all of them. That's pretty much become his main goal at this point, is trying to bag a girl.
Yeah, which he fails miserably at.
Well, I mean, the girls do have fun with him. Like you see them blindfolding him, turning him around, sneaking around, throwing him up in the air and all that stuff. So it's not like they're offended by his advances. They just like having fun with it and basically being cock teases.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, overall, this segment is kind of for me.
Yeah.
I like the stuff that happened before a lot better.
Yeah, when they were actively part of it.
Yeah, and even the three Caballeros, it's mostly about Donald in this part. It's not them, it's not Panchito being like, oh hey, look at Mexico, it's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but at this point they pretty much become background characters, and then at another point just non-existent, except for popping up at the most random moments.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about in a bit. So, okay, so after the sequence there are two parts, but really they can be lumped into one. Acid trip, acid trip, acid trip. This is where the movie devolves into something that has no plot, yet becomes awesome as a result. Okay, so we basically transition to the night skies of Mexico, and a giant woman's head appears, and Donald, falls in love with her, and basically he's lying on the moon and listening to her sing, and he's crooning over her, and then out of nowhere, stuff happens.
Yes.
the scenery changes to like crazy blank lines. We see a bunch of things appear, and the woman, who's singing, turns into a canvas that the other two Caballeros break through out of nowhere, and then it goes into like
it's not indescribable.
The scene, like, flowers appear on the screen, and this woman gets a huge ruff that makes her look like a flower, and then there's another scene where they're in like a desert part of Mexico, and there's a girl who's pretty much dressed as like a cowgirl or whatever you will, and the cacti start dancing. And at points, the cacti start morphing into Donald, and I can't believe this movie has made this sentence possible in this podcast, but cactus people have morphed into Donald and start stepping on him.
His little cactus babies.
What the hell?
Yeah, like I said, I think at this point, the writers are just like, fuck it, we're getting high, we're just gonna write whatever the hell we see.
And I'm like, how, you have to be really high to come up with animation like this. You don't just say, oh, this is interesting, let me make cactuses morph and grow larger, and no, that doesn't happen when you're not high.
And it's one thing to note, the animation changes several times throughout this sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like first you have like the normal looking where that's been constant throughout the film, and then all of a sudden you see like they're transparent, and then they're different colors, and they're different shapes, different sizes, and it just, oh my god, it's like sensory overload trying to.
And then the other two Caballeros randomly appear. They have a toy bowl that has wheels and firecrackers, and they attack Donald with it. And so fireworks sets off, and there's a finale where the three Caballeros are together again.
And that's how it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fireworks. Because all good movies end with fireworks. So, yeah, the ending is a slap to the senses, completely.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I think the end sequence is my favorite thing that happened in the film, but it's fun. The animators had a lot of fun. It's very interesting visuals, but the thing I can say about this entire film is that it sacrifices plot.
Yeah.
For really good and interesting animation. Because, that's what Disney was pioneering at this time. He didn't really have a lot of budget, and yet he did what he could, and so he had a new type of animation, and he set all this crazy stuff up. At the same time, though, you're sacrificing, plot of what's going on, and I don't think you need, it doesn't take a lot of budget to hire a good writer.
Right, because because the transition sequences, they're not bad at all. They don't distract from the story or anything, and it makes sense of how you end up from this point to that point. But then you get to this, and it's like, okay, where did I start? Where am I going? Where am I?
It started off being, okay, Donald is getting presents from his Mexican friends, or for friends from other countries. But then it turns really trippy and weird and different, and it is cool. I did enjoy it a lot more than I did Saludos Amigos, but at the same time, it's not really a Disney classic in the vein of, okay, I'm not going to compare it to Bambi because it doesn't have the same significance. I'm not going to really compare it to even, Snow White or Pinocchio because it doesn't really have this coherent story in mind.
Right. Yeah, it's... The best way to describe the sequence is, imagine someone rewound the movie and then sped it up.
And then put trippy visuals.
Yeah, and then put a bunch of, trippy colors over it. That's the best way to describe the ending sequence.
So what did you think of the music of the film?
music wasn't bad. You know,
I thought the music was really well done. The title song, The Three Caballeros, was really good. I didn't like the first time it appeared because, again, it's sung by that Disney chorus where it kind of sounds like there's too many voices packed in. It's like overloading the microphone equipment when they're doing that, like, you know, big Caballeros and bringing it all together. But, you know, when the refrains of Three Caballeros play and everyone else is singing it, and when they actually sing it in the film, like all the Caballeros actually sing the Three Caballeros, that's fun. I liked it. That was very enjoyable.
Yeah, that was always one of my favorite songs. I used to sing it all the time.
And yet, a funny thing about this song is that they're not just the Three Caballeros. They're the three gay Caballeros. And this isn't a joke that I'm making up. They call themselves the Three Gay Caballeros, as in gay happy.
Yeah, but considering some of the lyrics, it could be implied, you know, that they are really gay Caballeros. You will find us beneath our sombreros.
I think all the music really works together with the imagery that it's trying to convey. Like, Have You Been to Bahia? Even though it was, you know, asking that was very unnecessary all over and over again, that was a good song. I think Jose and Panchito have really good voices, and they're like old school radio crooners.
And they actually have, you know, suitable accents for their characters.
Yes, and they have differing accents, which is good. You can tell which one is from Brazil, and you can tell that Panchito is from Mexico. It's very, very noticeable that they are from the countries that they're supposed to be from.
And they also have really good singing voices as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't really hear it a lot in the last section, but, you know, all the other songs that take place. And unfortunately, there really isn't a song list, because there's a lot going on in the film.
Yeah, like a lot of the songs, like I said, are either attached to certain places or is a background. So
yeah,
like
so
you
will experience the songs as the film takes place in certain sections. There's only three noticeable, like, really, okay, this is a songs. There's the Three Caballeros, Have You Been to Bahia, and
what was that song called?
Os Quindins de Yaya.
Yeah. Os Quindins de Yaya.
And so it's really hard to really pinpoint anything else because they're all really a part of what this film is. But Yaya's song was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Have You Been to Bahia was a nice, really melody. And Three Caballeros, other than the first time, was really great theme song for this property. You know, it's a lot of fun, and it ends the film. It's a nice bookend. I thought it was really well done.
I think the only song that really annoyed me was You Belong to My Heart, the song that woman sings over and over again.
Yeah, because it's so, like, slow, it drags the film to a halt, and it's just an excuse for Donald to pine over another woman.
Yeah, and she sings it over and over again, and at all those random times that she pops up, and it's like, shut the hell up. Do you realize that you're in a flower? Come on. So, yeah, that annoyed me. I could do without that song. And
But, I mean, everything else was really good. I mean, this film was nominated for two Oscars based on its musical score. It was nominated for Best Musical Score and Best Sound Recording, which I can totally see that. I think the songs are not exactly too memorable. They're not timeless, but they're lots of fun. They definitely represent their culture accurately, and they do what they set out to do.
So, yeah, like I said, there are some really good points about the movie. Like I said, it is a lot better than Saludos Amigos. But as a movie, as a whole, you know, on its own, like, disjointed from that, it's kind of all over the place. And it just,
It works on one level, and that's the animation. Like, what do you think of this new animation style? I think it was really well done.
I do too. I really liked it, and you could see how fast that they made the animation too, with how they, seeing them jump around each other and running about and them dancing. I thought it was a really good job, especially when mixed with the live action.
Mm-hmm. And then the ending where everything happens, that's a really well done animation. It's unfortunate that, it wasn't all a specific type of animation, but it was all very interesting. It was all very unique. And I do like that this is a very different film of putting live action footage with animation. This hadn't been done before. And it's very different seeing that, they have these people in what looks to be like a theater type stage. And they're around, and it's like, okay, this is Bahia, and you see Donald just walking around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just thinking about the whole sequence, my brain is still like recovering.
Yeah, I needed a minute after seeing that ending. Say what you will about the film, but after seeing this, you really need to take a break because it's sensory overload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the constant shifts in gears just, yeah, they mess you up for a bit because you're trying to make sense of something that has no sense, and trying to make a plot out of something that has no plot, and it just.
And I have to say though that this is the first film of the mini cartoons, other than Fantasia, that really worked. In the fact that it was able to put all these disjointed parts together to make something that actually did kind of work very well. Fantasia was a very different beast entirely and was trying to do something different, but it was composed of segments. And so this kind of, this was kind of the format that Disney was trying to do, but much, much cheaper and much different in the coming years. I mean, Saludos Amigos just didn't work because they didn't try to connect the segments very well, and it was a very thin-paced plot. The same thing kind of happened with the Reluctant Dragon, and the fact that it was trying to do a bunch of small things, but really the major thing of the Reluctant Dragon was it was a tour of Disney factories,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't trying to be much more than that, although it did show some small cartoons, but still, fuck that movie.
You're never gonna let it go.
Until the thing that comes up that's worse than that.
Right. Yeah, you gotta give it some credit though. As opposed to Three Caballeros, the Reluctant Dragon had a consistent plot.
That had no plot whatsoever. It had a paper-thin excuse to go to Disney factories. No, don't give me that.
I mean in terms of the movie itself, not the sequence in between.
Okay, Reluctant Dragon animation segment did have a plot, but it was horrible.
Yeah, so I guess we should give our final thoughts on this overall.
Yeah, let's give our overall opinions on this film. Overall, I really liked this. I don't think it works as well as Fantasia did in actually, putting segments to music or putting segments to stuff, but that's not what it's trying to do. What the Three Caballeros was basically trying to do was showcase new cultures and put a bunch of different cartoons together and new animation styles, but do it on the cheap. And it succeeds entirely. It succeeds at everything it tries to do. Most of the segments, there's only one really that I don't really like, and most of the segments really work and are enjoyable. They all showcase the culture really well, except for the Cold-Blooded Penguin. They're all fun, they're all entertaining, and the animators must have just had a field day when creating this, because they did a really good job. Now, it does sacrifice a very coherent plot. Like, we do get a little bit of a plot in the beginning, but it's kind of thrown out the window. And it's not really like a Disney classic in terms of storytelling. But I do recommend seeing this for any Disney fan, simply for the animation alone, and because it's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy this. What do you think, Kat?
Well, I will always love this movie just because I grew up with it. It really appealed to me in terms of, the action, the colors, the characters. I really liked it a lot. When I watched it, but since I rewatched it now that I'm an adult, I still like it, but I can see where this would be off-putting to a lot of people in terms of, the randomness, the lack of coherent plot, and, a lot of stuff like that. I mean, I still think it's a lot better than Saludos Amigos.
Oh, yeah, it's much better than that, and much better than that other film.
Of course. But it's not as good as, it's obviously not going to be as good as Dumbo or Bambi or Pinocchio or Snow White or any of those films. So.
And honestly, I don't think it was really... this is during the war, so you got to understand, Disney had to cut some costs. He probably didn't have as many animators working for him. He probably, he wanted to create something that people could watch, easily consumable media. And he did a lot better showcasing the cultures here than he did in Saludos.
Yeah, no doubt. So, overall, I say it's definitely worth a watch, if only just for, one-time thing. For people
I wouldn't watch it over and over again, but, for people who want to see some really stellar animation and some trippy sequences and some fun, dances and stuff, give it a watch.
Yeah, so for people who really like learning about different cultures and who like animation, definitely go watch this. For people who are more focused on, writing and plot and, logical stuff like that, you might want to give this a skip, because unless you let go of all sense of logic, you're going to be so confused and probably infuriated by this movie. Just because of the randomness. So, like I said, look over yourself, what your taste in movies, and decide, would this really appeal to me or not? But still, overall, I'd say give it a watch. To experience it.
I'd say more than the last two films that we viewed, this deserves a place in at least the Disney canon.
Yeah, no doubt, and it is, because the characters, they do make another appearance in an episode of House of Mouse. Which
we saw, and Donald has bling bling.
Yes.
Just watch it because, to explain exactly what the hell is going on. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and they poke fun at the fact that Donald is full of himself, and the other two Caballeros are better than him.
Yeah.
And they are.
Pretty much.
He changes his name to the artist formerly known as Donald.
Yeah, well, the duck formerly known as Donald.
And then he showcases his hits, like, Duck a l'Orange, or Donald a l'Orange, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so... And of course, the characters, they're shown in Disney World. In fact, a funny story, one of my old roommates, her job was to play Jose in the Mexico part of Epcot. And it is funny because the only reason she played him is because she was the only costume person small enough to actually fit into the costume. Cause she said wearing the head was absolute hell because if she leaned forward or back too much, she could possibly strangle herself. and it's even more funny because she actually didn't know a word of Spanish, which is rather unfortunate because of all the Latinos that would visit this world and those characters.
Oh God, that's gotta be hell. Hola, ¿cómo está? Me llamo Jose. Don't talk to me, please.
Well, she eventually figured out whenever they would ask about Donald, because a big thing was every time someone would come visit them, their question was, "Hey, where's Donald?" So her reaction, because she wasn't allowed to talk, none of the characters are, was that she makes a motion to pretend that he went out golfing. And everyone accepted that until one time this Portuguese family asked her, they ask her this question, and she heard the word Donald, so assumed that they were talking about him, and made a motion, and they all burst out laughing, and then the girl who was in the Paquito costume was like, actually they were asking where your pants went. So yeah, sorry, that was my random rambling. But yeah, so those characters are canon. This movie is canon, and
much more so than the last two that we viewed.
True. And while it is, a total acid trip sequence, at least for the last half, it is worth a watch. Just to experience it and see if your brain can take it.
But yeah, so yeah, I agree. I think this is a pretty good movie and well worth a viewing. So yeah, this has been the Disney debate for today. Next time we are going to delve into Make Mine Music. This is another film that I have not seen from Disney, and I'm not looking at it. Well, I'm not hoping for much. I'm not expecting a lot out of this film.
Yeah, I watched it at least in separate segments when I was younger, but I haven't watched it recently. But I actually found it on sale at Walmart, so I'm gonna buy it and see it as it is, and I think it should be interesting. Personally, I think this is probably going to be a sort of sequel to Fantasia, but on a lesser scale.
We'll see. A lot of the stuff that we have left in the 40s, I have not seen. So, I'm not really going to be one to judge, but I think this after the 40s is kind of the dark times.
Yeah, because at this point, nothing really has a plot to it. It's all a bunch of, sequences. Because I guess Disney was recouping its losses from the war, so there was not much that they can do at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But
until the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, nothing really major came out of the studio.
Right.
And even then, that's a compilation of two completely different stories.
Yeah.
But it's still fun, enjoyable. But yeah, next up is Make Mine Music. Also, one more thing. When we're finished with the 40s, we have decided that we are going to have a special podcast talking about our overall opinion of each decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just, sort of a recap, talk about what we experienced, what we learned,
Our favorite films, our least favorite films. And so all you viewers out there, we pulled a few in the Disney Debate group, but let us know, contact us via Facebook or whatever, let us know what your favorite films are and what your least favorite films are, because that will appear in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll put up a poll on the site, and it'll have everything. I think we're going to leave out Snow White, though, since it is technically in the 30s, and plus it would probably win by a landslide.
Yeah.
So we'll have the list up, and we'll make two different ones for, favorite and least favorite. If you've been listening to our podcasts but haven't seen the movie, you can do either or. It doesn't matter. Just your personal opinion. We always like to hear what everyone wants to know about it. So.
Yeah, but it's very fun to interact with our audience. We want audience participation from everyone. So. Mm-hmm. But anyway, once again, this has been the Disney Debate for today. If you have any comments, criticisms, suggestions, or Disney movie suggestions that we don't know about, please message us at zenithrule.blip.tv, where all my videos go up. Or if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to comment there, you can follow us at Twitter at twitter.com/zenithrule and twitter.com/cattcritic. Or you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/zenithrule and facebook.com/catmac.
Right, so yes, this has been the Disney Debate. I am catmac/cattcritic/FMTrabbit.
And I am Zenithrule. And we will see you guys next time.
Yes, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
Thank you for watching The Media Meltdown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. And if you like what you see, show your support on the Patreon page at patreon.com/Media Meltdown. See you all next time on the Media Meltdown.